What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And today I'm going to do today is the day, my assessment, the long-awaited, much appreciated assessment of the free agent market and what the Washington Commanders did. And I'll grade this free agency, but it's actually going to be very difficult for me because of the fact that of what I feel about a lot of these players. So Washington signed a lot of guys, a whole lot of guys, and they signed guys for pretty good money. They walked away not spending a lot. They actually, signed a lot of guys to a lot of longer-term deals. And the guys that they gave one-year deals, I'm actually glad they gave one-year deals because some of these guys didn't deserve the amount of money it would have cost if we had signed them to longer-term deals. But with that being said, I'm going to start from the very top. Odafe Oweh. I do like this pickup. Here's my only issue with it. Now, let me start from all the things that I like. I like his ability to rush the passer and actually get home more often than some of the other guys that is around for that. He does a very good job using his hands. He doesn't have a lot of different pass rush moves, but he has enough in his tool basket that will make him special and make him more effective. This guy has been somebody that not only Baltimore but other people around the league have been waiting to see him really come into his own. It seems like he kind of did that towards the end of last year after being traded from Baltimore. But I do like his ability to rush the passer and get around the edge and make plays. The downside to him is that he still comes off as still a work in progress type of player, and his ability to transition in and out of defenses and defensive schemes. He struggled last year in Baltimore, which prompted them to trade him to LA, to the Chargers, and in the process of that he came back on again, but I don't know how much it's going to benefit him that greatly when you think about the fact that he's coming from that Jesse Minter defense. I thought that he would have went back to Baltimore because Jesse Minter went there, but he comes here, and like I said, my biggest concern is what does he do in the scheme, and when you think about the next defensive scheme he's coming to in Washington. I'm not certain how great that transition will happen, but hopefully it happens well and it works out, because currently right now we still don't know what Daronte Jones's defense is going to look like and what the responsibilities of the edges are going to be. So with that, we'll definitely find out and we'll see. But the Odafe Oweh one, I'm kind of okay with that one. I'm just have a concern. Next, the Leo Chanel signing. Chanel, I think it's more Chanel than Chanel. Anyway, I like Leo Chanel. I think that he's a very fantastic linebacker. He's sideline to sideline. You can use him down pretty much how you use Frankie Louvu, which is very good when you're talking about trying to attack the offense. He can rush from the end, from an edge position, and he does a fantastic job blitzing from the inside. So he's very effective when it comes to that. He's also probably one of the more sure tacklers in the NFL, which I also really like as well. My only issue with this is that, one, we needed a green dot guy, and he's not a green dot guy. And my other fear is that if we try to force him to be a green dot guy, will we lose the best of his ability in doing that? Because this will be his first opportunity to play in a system not opposite of Nick Bolton. And for anybody who's been a friend of this channel, Nick Bolton was one of my guys. So the fact that he'll finally be pushed into a scheme where he's not reliant upon a green dot guy or the possibility of him becoming a green dot guy, though that's the thing that I'm concerned about. But I do like what he brings to the table. Amik Robertson, nickel from Detroit. He was a guy, I remember him, he got burnt a lot, but it wasn't necessarily his fault, because I know for a fact that when the corners in Detroit kind of were going down, he was like the only guy who was still basically part of that secondary, and teams were taking advantage of that. And I think he also got injured last year as well, so he struggled last year, but he was a very effective guy. He can tackle, he can come up and make plays. But this move to me is probably a very great move, because I've asked for it. I think that we've all asked for it, but this is the opportunity that we want Mikey Sainristil to have, where he's not forced to play inside because he's just shorter. He's just a shorter cornerback in comparison to the other cornerbacks. So this is the opportunity that we really wanted for Mikey Sainristil, and bringing in Amik Robertson to take over that position, and it not be a thing of like, well, we got another tall cornerback, let's just push Mikey Sainristil back to the slot. We now will get the opportunity to actually see Mikey Sainristil outside, and this is going to be the make or break time for him. He's going to have to show that he can play the outside, because as fans, we've been pushing for it. We've been asking for it. It's now about to happen. So now we're about to see what type of Mikey Sainristil we'll get this upcoming season. But I do like that signing because it assists with Mikey Sainristil's transition to the outside. Next is Keion Chason. Now, coming out of LSU, I remember he was supposed to be the best of the best. He follows in line with a lot of those guys. Like I think Arden Key was another guy as well. He finally broke through this year. And with him finally breaking through this year, my only concern is, can he do it again? Can he keep it up? Is he going to be really worth the time to invest? The benefit that we have is that he signed a 1-year deal. So that's the big benefit that we have with that. And I actually enjoy the fact that he's only here for a 1-year deal, especially if he doesn't work out in whatever our scheme is. But he's also an effective pass rusher. He's a guy that, rotationally, he makes sense. You have a guy who can come off the edge and everything like that. He's not a one-to-one comparison to like a Jacob Martin in regards to like being able to really be as effective as Jacob Martin was, who we did lose. But I do feel that he will be effective enough to basically make the plays that we need him to make on third down. So again, very good signing. Not quite the effective edge guys that I want us to really have, but it's better than nothing, I have to admit. Just to be out there, AJ Epineza is still out there, so that's a guy that I like his athleticism. I know most people don't like the fact that he's inconsistent, but I still like his athleticism, but that's neither here nor there. Next is a guy that I'm ecstatic he's back, and that's Tim Settle. Again, people who are friends of this channel, y'all all know when it came to Tim Settle, before he left here, I told everybody he was our best defensive tackle, and that was with John Allen and Daron Payne on the team. And when Ron Rivera let him walk, I was through with it, because he was our best defensive tackle, and the fact that he's come back home is big for us. This is a guy that I do feel, I feel Tim Settle will push Daron Payne. I feel that we might get the best out of Daron Payne. And we might actually see Javon Kinlaw go to the bench. And I know a lot of people may not want to hear that. We may see Javon Kinlaw, because I think that Tim Settle, again, because Daron Payne knew Tim. Because, in fact, I think they were drafted the same year. Because I think Jonathan Allen was drafted the year before, and Tim Settle came in the Daron Payne. The 5th round from Virginia Tech. Yep. So Tim Settle and Daron Payne were drafted together. So this gives them an opportunity to put Tim Settle back beside Daron Payne, and I think that we'll probably get a better Daron Payne this upcoming season. I know most people say that it's because it's a contract year, but I think that Tim Settle was just a better D tackle even when he left, and the fact that he's coming back, this is everything we need. A guy who stops the run, a guy who gets up the field and can rush the passer and make plays rushing the passer. I love it. I absolutely love this signing, and I'm glad Tim Settle is back home. Next is Nick Cross. This was the snag that I don't think any of us saw. I didn't even think that he would get out of Indianapolis, which is why when I did my initial list, I didn't put him down, because I was for certain Indianapolis was going to bring him back. But I guess when Indianapolis signed Alec Pierce and then brought back Daniel Jones, when they brought back Alec Pierce, I guess at some point they realized to bring back Daniel Jones, they weren't going to have enough money for Nick Cross. But when you talk about one of the best in-the-box safeties who come down and makes plays, this is the guy. He's also very good when defending tight ends. I just love Nick Cross's game. And like I said, for this to be like a sneaky signing and actually do something big, yes, this was a great pickup for Washington. I love the Nick Cross signing. Next is Charles Omenihu. Charles Omenihu, kind of similar to Dietrich Wise when it comes to like a guy who holds up against the run. He can pass rush, but not as great. The problem with him is that unlike Dietrich Wise, he's not as consistent as Dietrich Wise can be. But he's effective. He's very effective. He would be one of those guys that would come in and make plays and things like that. I do actually see him as a rotational piece, because he's also a guy that can play down in the box as well. He can move from in to tackle. So, and there's been several times that when he was in Kansas City that he did play defensive tackle at times. So he is a guy that can shift around, but he can have an impact in the game. And I do like this signing as well. Like I said, it's one of those things where, again, he to me, he comes off as like another Dietrich Wise type of guy. But again, just maybe not as consistent as Dietrich Wise was in in the past. Next is a guy that another player that I didn't think that Washington would have been able to really snag, but they were able to snag him. Chig Okonkwo, the tight end out from Tennessee. I am ecstatic that we got him. Everything that we hated about Zach Ertz, the fact that he would catch the ball, he couldn't block, or when he did catch the ball, he would sit up there and go down immediately. Like he never really broke tackles and things like that. Chig does all of that. He blocks very well. He catches the ball, he will run somebody over. For him, it's not a game when trying to get to the end zone. The things that we didn't like about Zach Ertz, there were times where he would have those alligator arms almost like he didn't want to be hit. Chig could care less about that. Chig wants to go up there. He wants to be as physical as he can possibly be, and he's very aggressive. I love that, and to me, I feel that if you have, with Chig being in the tight end room, we might actually get a different Ben Sinnott and even maybe a different John Bates, because maybe they they will see Chig's style of play and get motivated by that. So again, love the Chig Okonkwo signing. Another return, which is something that I talked about this last year when they should have re-signed him the last time, but Dyami Brown is back. The original deep threat, which was actually the original deep threat and the original, I'll say number 2, that was very effective for us down the playoff stretch. Dyami Brown has returned. Now, I mean, we can kind of sit up there and say that we may possibly not really have the issue of not having the number 2 receiver, especially if Dyami Brown catches back like he did the year before he left. Again, with Dyami Brown's effectiveness, what comes into play there is, what is the scheme going to look like with Blau being the offensive coordinator? Does Dyami Brown play such a significant role that the offense that he's building out really takes advantage of Dyami Brown's abilities? So I don't know. I can't say. But I love the fact that Dyami Brown is back. I will also say this, because now that Dyami Brown is back, I think that this really puts Luke McCaffrey on possibly on the chopping block. Because they didn't only sign Dyami Brown, they also signed this next guy, Van Jefferson. Big wide receiver. Does kind of have that Noah Brown type of feel to him. The difference is that Van Jefferson isn't as effective as like Noah Brown was. Van Jefferson can have a massive impact in the game, because there's been times where Van Jefferson would be forgotten about, and because if I remember, I think when he was with the Rams, but there's times where he can be just forgotten about, and he'll end up having this massive game because people just forgot about him. And that is like a huge thing for a guy like Van Jefferson. And again, like I said, with the addition of Van Jefferson, Luke McCaffrey might be out. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't have an issue with Luke McCaffrey being out, but when you talk about these 2 additions, where does that put Luke McCaffrey? Because you still got Jalen Lane, and Jalen Lane has made it very clear that you can use him on kick returns and punt returns, and he can be just as effective. So for this puts Luke McCaffrey in a very bad spot. And if Dyami Brown comes out of training camp and he's clearly established himself as the slot guy or the number 2, yeah, Luke McCaffrey's time is over in Washington. Next, these next 2 signings, I'm going to do them as a pair. Rachaad White and Jerome Ford. When looking at both of these guys, when it comes to the running back position, it just seems like what they lost in free agency, when you think about Jeremy McNichols and also when you think about Chris Rodriguez, they basically replaced them with close, kind of like identical guys. Rachaad White, again, he's the receiving threat. He's the dual threat guy that can run and catch passes out the backfield, very similar to Jeremy McNichols. And then Jerome Ford is that grizzled veteran who's going to grind out the yards and everything like that. Older than Chris Rodriguez is, but still just as effective. I don't mind these 2 running back picks. I think that was actually very good for them to get these 2 running backs. But it wouldn't stop me from drafting a guy in this draft, because if you think about it, some of the running backs that are in this draft, they could actually take spots. I could see some of the running backs in this draft class would take a spot from Jerome Ford, or would even take a spot from Rachaad White. So, or even take Bill's spot. So with that, I don't mind these two pickups because they do replace the two guys that are no longer here, but they're not as impactful as it is because this goes back to the running back by committee thing. And to me, I just feel that running back by committee never works, and you never really find a team where it works effectively. We saw Seattle, they were running back by committee because they had the two running backs, but once Charbonnet went down and it became the Kenneth Walker show, it was over. At that point, it was completely over. So that is what I think about the running backs. Last but not least, another returning guy, Chris Paul, is back. I think that we're all surprised that his market wasn't bigger and that there wasn't more teams willing to take the chance on him, but he signed another 1-year deal. So if he has a stellar year next year, we're going to be in the same boat again about Chris Paul and what to do with Chris Paul. Again, this puts Brandon Coleman again in a situation where what do you do with Brandon Coleman? I mean, he wasn't a bad offensive lineman, and now here we are again where what do you do with a guy now? What do you do with him now? Does he now become the permanent swing tackle? I don't know. So this is a tough one, but glad that Chris Paul is back. But with all the free agent signings and what my assessment was of the whole class, being as though I don't really know what the two schemes are going to be, what the offensive scheme is going to be, what the defensive scheme is going to be, I can only grade this free agency class strictly on talent. Strictly on talent. Because I don't know what their fits are going to be in these games. So with that, just strictly off of talent, I will give this draft class, this free agency class, a C+. I do think that we got more talented when it comes to these free agents. I do think that we got more talent. The problem is what is their fits in the schemes? What is the scheme going to look like? What is the scheme going to do? Because again, you can have a Nick Cross, but if you have a Nick Cross that's constantly in passing, where he's basically the free safety style type of guy, you're not using his best skills. So I don't know. The same with Tim Settle. If you make Tim Settle more of a nose tackle and less of a attacking D tackle, you can be in a situation where you're losing the effectiveness of a Tim Settle. Adafe always say he doesn't transition well into the scheme. That's going to be hard. So Chig, say you don't give Chig the ball. You've now lost that ability. De'Ami Brown, say you make De'Ami Brown this short yardage receiver where he's actually a deep threat. That could be a problem. Say Bill has such a disastrous camp that Rachaad White or Jerome Ford ends up as your number one running back. That's problematic. So for that, like I said, I'll give this free agency pickup class a C+. Once we see what the schemes are, I might go back and reassess this and say either it'll be better or it'll be worse. But that is my assessment of the Washington Commanders free agency pickup. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Do y'all think that I'm on point with this? How do y'all feel about it? Again, right now we can only do the assessment based on talent-wise because we don't know what the schemes are going to be. Y'all tell me in the comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Other than that, this has been your man John Fortune, and it's been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.